Okay, so let's talk a little bit about rejection and how to avoid it. The rejection rates vary greatly between different journals. 95% for things like Science and Nature. Some of the journals like Ecology, maybe 60%. Most journals, probably 30, 40. Symposia proceedings, typically about 5%. This is a few years out of date, but I think it's relevant as well. I wanted to talk about the fate of papers in conservation biology. So in 2014, we received just over 1,000 manuscripts there. 53% of them were rejected without review, right, by the associate editor or by the editor-in-chief. And most of those, because it wasn't the right journal for it, inconsistent with the aims and scope, work on a single species or small geographic area with limited transferability, or it just wasn't very good paper. The quality was low. 293 were assigned to handling editors, and 182 were also assigned by regional editors that weren't the handling editors. Of those, 182 or 28% were rejected by the handling editor. So 62% of what reaches someone like me tends to get rejected. Usually after review, but not necessarily. And for regional editors, that other 182 there, that was typically the same sort of proportions. So 119 were invited to resubmit. And in total, 129 were eventually accepted for publication. And at the time of getting this, 2% were still pending a decision. So that was a maximum of 15% acceptance rate, but 30% of those that were actually sent out for review. So of the ones that actually make it to review, we'll accept 1 out of every 3. But we don't send many of them out for review, much of which is something that the authors could do something about, right? Typically, because there's studies about a single species and we don't do that, or it's not transferable, and we made that really clear in our aims and scope, but they didn't read the directions, and they were just trying to shoot high, and so we just rejected there. So, but if you think about that, that's not that bad. If you can get it out to review, you've got about a 30% chance of getting it published, and that's pretty good. So how to avoid rejection? Well, do good topical research. Ask and answer clear research questions. Clarity, 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 clarity. Make sure your writing's clear. Make sure there's connections between the different elements of the paper. Don't submit it prematurely. It's often good to get colleagues to take a look at it. You know, friends or colleagues in other places, have them review it and give you some critiques and comments. Again, submit it to an appropriate journal. Follow the instructions, read them and follow them. Respond to the reviewer and editor's comments when you get it. And unfortunately, I hate to say this one, but network. Networking is really important. Knowing reviewers and editors, and you know, I guess it's a little bit less in the double-blind system for many of them, but it makes a big difference when you know people. So dealing with rejection, what can you do? Well, you can sulk and give up. This is a strategy that happened more often than I'd like to say, not necessarily for me, but for some of my co-authors. They just get bad reviews and then they're over it and they never submit it again. You know, you spend a year on a paper and you get one bad review and you give up, it happens. I don't suggest it. I think it's a waste of everyone's time. Most of the time you can just fix it up and send it on. You can challenge the decision, again, constructively. We talked a little bit about this. It's unlikely, but it's possible. You need very good grounds, and generally if it's technical, you're going to have a lot more luck than if it's sort of philosophical. If they just say it's not novel and you just say it is novel, you're going to have trouble. Submit elsewhere, generally down the hierarchy, but not always. Sometimes you get amazing comments. You get great ideas. They reject it, but you're like, oh, I never thought about that. And then you can reanalyze it or get some other thing. And now it's a much better paper and send it up the hierarchy, sure. But again, make the corrections and then do it.